So I am in Shillong and talking to Sanjeev Kakoti. Sanjeev is a postgraduate from the Northeast Hill University in Shillong, and then did his PhD also from there in history. Sanjeev is right now a faculty member at the Indian Institute of Management in Shillong. But the reason I'm talking to Sanjeev is not about the modern MBAs that the Northeast is producing, but a whole tradition which is forgotten, except a few people who know it, and it's the Gandhians who worked in the Northeast. And Sanjeev comes from one such family, so I thought nobody more appropriate than him to talk about that. Sanjeev, I know of some names like, Natwar Takkar in Nagaland, Hembhai, near Guwahati, Ravindra Bhai, near Barpeta, Nalbari, right? But I believe there was a whole set of people who, adopted the Gandhian ideology and worked throughout their life in the Northeast. Could you tell me a bit about them?
Actually, the names that you referred to were basically contemporaries of my father.
Yes.
My father's name was Sikon Kakoti. He was a Gandhian and he was a freedom fighter.
Yes.
And he was engaged with Vinoba Bhave during his Padayatra. Now, when you ask me about Gandhian values in the Northeast, what is very striking is that come 15th of August or the 26th of January, you find various groups calling for bands in the Northeast. Come the 2nd of October, you find communities joining together to clean streets, to Shramdan. They make a huge impact on lives. Now that's something which is very, very unique because the Northeast actually identifies with Gandhi and Gandhianism in a much deeper scale than the rest of the country would care to know. Because some of the principles that Gandhi had lived for were truth and hard work. And these are principles which the people of the Northeast have always lived by.
Tell me a bit about how your father came to be a Gandhian.
My father was initially not a Gandhian. He was a freedom fighter. He was the commander-in-chief of the Mrityu Bahini in 1942.
Mm-hmm.
So he was the commander-in-chief in the Sibsagar district of Upper Assam.
And what is the Mrityu Bahini?
The Mrityu Bahini was a do-or-die squad. They wanted the British to leave or they would die in the effort to dislodge them.
Mm-hmm.
So basically they were engaged in dislodging the British war effort in the Upper Assam sector.
So was this in some ways linked to Subhash Chandra Bose's Indian?
Subhash Chandra Bose was still not there.
Okay.
This was basically Aruna Asaf Ali, Jayaprakash Narayan and Lohia.
Right.
So they had written a book, the ABC of Dislocation,
Mm-hmm.
and they had distributed it widely amongst the people. And he was a young student then.
Mm.
So he assumed charge command of the Sibsagar district.
Mm-hmm.
So they were disrupting the British war effort by the train supplies were cut off, the rail tracks were removed, they attacked police stations, they burned down bridges. So in all, the British war effort in the Upper Assam was thought to be derailed. The British declared a sum of 500 on his head for his capture. They never captured him. So that was one chapter in his life.
Mm-hmm.
So the other person who was there in Golaghat was Shankar Barua. Mm-hmm. And one very interesting part of the freedom movement at that time was there was a lot of case of rape and molestation of women by the European army, especially the Negro army. So my father and Shankar Barua actually hired local blacksmiths to produce small little daggers which ladies were trained to hide in their bodies. So in cases of molestation, they were asked to stab whoever tried it. And there were a lot of stabbing cases in 1942 in Upper Assam at that time on daggers which were made and distributed by the Mrityu Bahini of that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was one part. And later on, he became a Gandhian because Gandhi, after that, he was imprisoned in 1942. When he came out, he became an ardent nationalist. My great-grandmother, my father's grandmother, was the first lady Satyagrahi chosen by Gandhi to lead the Satyagraha in Assam.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather, that is my father's father, was the founder of the Sibsagar District Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a family of freedom fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly, my great-grandmother, that is the first lady Satyagrahi's mama, her uncle,
Mm-hmm.
happened to be Maniram Dewan, who was hanged by the British.
Oh.
So it had continued. So my father was a broken man after independence because he thought that the India that he had fought for was not the India that India achieved during independence. Then there was he joined up with Vinoba Bhave, and they went around walking the length and breadth of India. They took part in the Gramdan and the Bhudan movement. In fact, the pair of shoes Vinoba used for his Padayatra of Assam is there in our house. Probably you could take a footage of that. We have it as a relic in our library.
Sure.
So they kind of felt frustrated that things were not going too well. There was talk of the Congress getting disbanded. That was what the Gandhi wanted. But the Congress continued and it became a political party. So from being a national movement, it became a political party. And that was a big letdown. So they tried in their own little ways. And there is a group of ashrams in the northeast. And actually Natawar Thakur took up one of these ashrams in Nagaland. These ashrams were the Kasturba Gandhi ashrams. This was founded by Gandhi himself in 1945. And my father was always a part of these ashrams. We have ashrams all over the northeast. The ones in Mizoram got closed down during the insurgency. The ones in Nagaland went through difficult times. But then Natawar Thakur came and took over some of them. And then at the moment there are 22 ashrams. And my aunt, who's a spinster, she's about 86 now. She's still a part of the ashram. She's worked all her life there. She joined the ashram at the age of 16. So she's been there.
So do you think, Sanjeev, there's any hope of reviving this tradition of, this network of ashrams which were there also in Bihar and what is today Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, some parts of Rajasthan, Gujarat? All over the country there were probably 200 or 300 ashrams set up by Gandhians, which were centers of constructive work and, youth who were idealistic and wanted to do something for the nation. Do you think there's a possibility for us to revive them, but in a 21st century sense of the word?
That's something that I have been looking at even for the last few years, because I am part of the advisory group of the Kasturba Gandhi Ashram, and we have been looking at ways and means how to revive them. At the moment, I am engaged in trying to teach sustainability at the IIM Shillong. And when I try and teach sustainability, I have come to realize that some of the principles that Gandhi was talking about are actually very, very modern concepts of economy.
Yes, such as the Hind Swaraj.
Yes. So at that time, it was mistaken as being something that was not practicable. But if you look at the economy now, you find that there is a huge gap between the requirements of the nation and the resources that are there. Now, the areas which still have natural resources in abundance are areas in the northeast and the areas that are supposedly Nakshal or Maoist affected. So there is a tussle going on for those scarce resources. Now, what Gandhian principles were talking about was talking about empowerment of every individual, and it was talking about an equitable distribution of resources so that every person would have the opportunity to develop the best in him or her. That was essentially what Gandhi was talking about. And that's essentially what democracy should be talking about. So if you really look at it from a very practical kind of a way, probably there is no other way than to follow the Gandhian way for India's economic reconstruction, I'd say. I was in a meeting in Guwahati. He talked about Rabin Bhai. He's no more. He passed away a couple months ago.
Yes.
So this was regarding violence and how do we take care of violence in the nation. So he put up a very, very practical kind of a suggestion, saying that you cannot have violence in an era of injustice.
You cannot have non-violence.
You cannot have non-violence.
Yes.
You cannot get rid of violence, the era of violence, through more violence. As long as there is injustice, there's going to be violence. So, and the very system that we have inculcated over the last 60 years breeds this injustice at various levels. Just the right to vote every 5 years doesn't make us a democracy. We are actually eluding ourselves into thinking that we are a democracy. We are not. So unless there is economic democracy, there cannot be true democracy. And the only way that we can achieve that is by going the Gandhian way. But interestingly, the Northeast, which is supposed to be full of insurgents, supposed to be full of all the negatives that are painted, has a very soft corner for Gandhianism. Gandhi is a revered figure even in Nagaland, which is supposed to be an insurgent-dominated state. So Gandhi and Gandhian ideals can be revived, has to be revived. Probably that's the only way that we can go forward. There is no other way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.